Here are the top stories for today, November 7, 2019. President Duterte hopes to discuss with Vice President Leni the realities of the government's war on drugs. The latest SWS survey shows the Duterte administration retains its very good satisfaction rating. Malacanang supports the DFA's plan to file a diplomatic protest against China over the firing of warning flares at the West Philippine Sea. And the DTI in Baguio City begins monitoring of meat products and prices in time for the Christmas season. Good day, I'm Rom Dulfo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Our top story for today, President Rodrigo Duterte hopes to meet with Vice President Leni to discuss the realities of the administration's war on drugs. This as Robredo, who accepted her post as co-chairperson of the government's anti-drug body, skipped Wednesday's cabinet meeting. Bench Bondok with this story.
Vice President Leni Robredo was a no-show in what was supposed to be her first cabinet meeting as co-chair of the Interagency Committee on Anti-Illegal Drugs. Malacanang said Robredo was welcome to join Wednesday's cabinet meeting soon after she accepted President Rodrigo Duterte's offer to co-chair the government's anti-illegal drug body. Duterte earlier welcomed Robredo's acceptance of the ICAD post. During the 43rd cabinet meeting on Wednesday night, Duterte was optimistic that Robredo would realize the importance of his administration's intensified crackdown on illegal drugs. He emphasized the need for Robredo to understand the government's position against extrajudicial or state-sponsored killings. Robredo will lead ICAD along with Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency Director General Aaron Aquino until June 30, 2022, according to the memorandum signed by Duterte on October 31. The memorandum also directed the PDEA, the Philippine National Police, the Dangerous Drugs Board, and other law enforcement agencies to extend their full assistance and cooperation to Robredo. Duterte was prompted to name Robredo as ICAD co-chair after the latter claimed that the government's anti-drug campaign is obviously not working. Robredo said she would help the administration combat illegal drugs without costing the lives of suspected drug offenders in the country. Meanwhile, Duterte extended an invitation for Robredo to meet in Malacanang where they could discuss her specific mandate in the administration's efforts to curb the spread of illegal drugs. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Bench Bondok.
Some lawmakers on Wednesday welcomed Vice President Leni Robredo's decision to accept President Duterte's offer to co-chair the Interagency Committee on Anti-Illegal Drugs, or ICAD. ACO Bicol Party List Representative Alfredo Garbin expressed optimism that Robredo's appointment would bear a more holistic approach in the government's campaign against illegal drugs. Garbin also hoped Robredo would be given the full trust and support of the administration, especially the law enforcement agencies, in the policies and reforms which she would be championing. Agusan del Norte Representative Lawrence Fortun said Robredo's acceptance of Duterte's order would be an opportunity for the two leading officials of the country to again work together on a very critical campaign of the present administration. ACT-CIS Party Representative Nina Taduran, meanwhile, said maybe the Vice President can offer some fresh insights on how to solve the problem, particularly from a woman's point of view. 3 out of 4 Filipinos remain very satisfied with President Duterte's administration based on the third quarter survey of the social weather stations revealed Wednesday. The SWS survey gave the Duterte administration a plus 67 net satisfaction rating. 77% were satisfied with the national government's general performance, 11% were undecided, and 10% were dissatisfied. This quarter's rating was, however, 6 points lower than the record high plus 73 the administration achieved in the previous quarter. The pollster attributed the lower rating to the declines in satisfaction in Mindanao, Balanced Luzon, and Visayas. Meanwhile, satisfaction with the government rose from a very good plus 60 in June to an excellent plus 78 in September in Class A, B, and C. However, satisfaction dropped from plus 73 to plus 66 in Class D and in Class E from plus 73 to plus 68. President Duterte has directed authorities to conduct a thorough investigation into the killing of a radio block timer in Dumaguete City on Thursday morning. Presidential spokesperson Sal Panelo said the president wanted to put the killers of Dindo Generoso, broadcaster and block timer of DYEM-FM by radio, behind bars. Generoso was driving on his way to work when a riding in tandem shot him to death in Piapi Village in Dumaguete City, Negros Oriental. Presidential Task Force on Media Security Co-Chair Undersecretary Joel Egco said his office is in close coordination with the Dumaguete City Police to identify the motives of the perpetrators of the murder. Generoso's 8 a.m. radio program in Bay Radio is sponsored by the Dumaguete City government. He was an anchor for development programs of the local government, including a controversial reclamation project that was halted by the Department of Environment and Natural Resources last week. Generoso also ran for the mayoralty post during the May 2016 elections, but lost. In other news, Chief Justice Diosdado Peralta on Thursday ordered a ban on the use of mobile phones and other gadgets during trials in all courts in the country. In a memorandum dated November 4, Peralta said to maintain orderly procedures and trials, the unrelated use of mobile phones and gadgets while the court is in session is prohibited. The move is in accordance with Peralta's 10-point program as Chief Justice. With regards to the monitoring of performance of all courts, Peralta said all lower courts are strictly enjoined to comply with the rules on session hours and hearing dates. The police and military have joined hands in continued efforts to send aid to the victims of the earthquakes in Mindanao. More on this and other news around the metro from Janice Cabe.
The Philippine Navy has deployed its biggest ship, the strategic sea-lift vessel VRP Davao del Sur, to the ongoing relief missions for communities severely affected by the series of earthquakes in Mindanao. The VRP Davao del Sur carried around 56 tons of assorted cargoes and equipment, which include mobile kitchens, cargo trucks, and towable water treatment trucks. Navy Flag Officer in Command Vice Admiral Robert M. Pedrad earlier issued a directive for the deployment of naval assets to accommodate more relief goods and cargoes and to provide humanitarian assistance and transport mission. Meanwhile, the Philippine Coast Guard Dumaguete Station is also sending more than a ton of relief goods to Mindanao. Lieutenant Commander Jansen Benjamin said they were also waiting for the shipment of relief goods collected by the PCG in nearby Siquijor, scheduled to arrive that same day. In other news, the Philippine National Police on Wednesday said it has provided 2 million pesos worth of relief goods to the victims of the recent earthquakes. PNP spokesperson Bernard Banak said the relief goods came from the donation of all PNP personnel. Another earthquake occurred on Thursday morning, this time in Quezon Province. The epicenter of the magnitude 5.5 quake in Quezon was traced 42 kilometers northeast of Homalig. Intensity 4 was primarily felt in Ganayangan, Quezon, and various intensities was also felt in Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur, Batangas, Metro Manila, Bulacan, Pampanga, Nueva Ecija, and Aurora. PHIVOLC said it is not expecting any damage, but aftershocks are possible from the quake. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Still to come, Malacanang supports the DFA's plan to file a diplomatic protest against China over the firing of warning flares in the West Philippine Sea. These and more when we return.
We are very much thankful for this indispensable help given by extended by the DSWD for the, especially the IDPs like us.
Yung TFBM at saka DSWD, maganda po yung naitutulong nila sa IDPs, lalo na po sa mga most affected area. So nagpapasalamat po ako sa agencies na yan po.
I'm very thanks and gratitude to the DSWD Region Team.
Panalamat kami kasi maraming natulungan ng DSWD.
Malacanang supports the plan of Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Locsin Jr. to file a diplomatic protest against China over the alleged firing of warning flares at a Philippine military aircraft patrolling the West Philippine Sea. Presidential spokesperson Sal Panelo said the palace will adopt the stand of Locsin and Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, who said China's flares do not prevent their vessels and aircraft from patrolling. On Tuesday, AFP Deputy Chief of Staff for Intelligence Ryuben Basiao bared to a House panel that there have been 6 flare warnings against Philippine military aircraft this year. Basiao has remarked that China is seen as the most aggressive among the claimants in the South China Sea. Panelo, on the other hand, notes the importance of practicing self-restraint to prevent tension, which is the common stand of ASEAN members. Leaders of ASEAN and China target to have completed a code of conduct on the South China Sea by 2021. President Duterte has approved the use of the Office of the President's remaining contingency fund to help prevent the spread of African swine fever in the country. The President approved of Agriculture Secretary William Dar's proposal during the 43rd Cabinet meeting in Malacanang Wednesday. The fund, amounting to 1 billion pesos, will be used to indemnify affected hog raisers and to designate cold storage areas in the ports of Manila, Subic, Batangas, Cebu, and Davao for 100% monitoring of meat products. Last September, the President approved the release of 78 million pesos for biosecurity and quarantine operations and other disease control measures against ASF. The government reports a total of 24 ASF outbreaks in the country and 555 actual ASF cases. The Samahang Industriya ng Agrikultura said the hog industry has lost revenue worth about 10 billion pesos 2 months after the emergence of ASF in the country. The Philippine economy remains one of Asia's fastest growing economy as it expanded by 6.2% in July to September period this year. In a press briefing, Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Ernesto Pernia said the Philippines likely ranked second behind Vietnam 7.3%, but higher than China 6% during the period. Pernia said the stronger growth in public spending contributed significantly to the economy's third quarter performance. He said the government is committed to speeding up the implementation of its programs and projects that were affected by the budget impasse and the election ban earlier this year. Among the major economic sectors, the Philippine Statistics Authority reported that services posted the fastest growth with 6.9% in the third quarter. Industry followed, which grew by 5.6%, while agriculture, hunting, forestry, and fishing all registered growth of 3.1%. In Western Visayas, more pusher surrenderers have been encouraged to enter Balay Silangan Reformation Centers since they began operating last year. According to PDEA, 27 pusher surrenderers are set to start in Pasig City on November 18, while an ongoing program in Tapaz has 29 enrollees, unlike the community-based program that caters to drug user surrenderers. Balay Silangan does not offer a rehabilitation program but more of a reformation program that caters to pusher surrenderers. However, those caught during operations shall face charges and are not eligible to enter Balay Silangan. The regional police has recorded more than 3,000 pusher surrenderers since Oplan Tokhang was launched on July 2016. The vaccination campaign in Bicol is said to be in full swing, and environment authorities urge fisherfolk to report trapped wildlife species. More on this and other news in the provinces from Adrian Jerico.
The Department of Health's vaccination campaign in Bicol is said to be in full swing as more than 27,000 children are immunized against polio in the past 2 quarters of this year. The DOH said it has reached 40% of their target coverage of more than 67 children aged 0 to 5 years. Meanwhile, environmental authorities in Cebu urge fishermen and coastal families to report to their local environment officers if they find wildlife animals trapped in their nets or strayed into their vicinity. This after 2 green marine turtles were trapped in a fisherman's net. This was reported by the fishermen, and authorities were able to tag the species before releasing it back to the sea. The DNR Region 7 appealed to the public to help protect all wildlife and endangered species, especially the sea turtles, locally known as pawikan. Meanwhile, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency in Davao has certified Barangay Balagunan in Santo Tomas, Davao del Norte as a drug-cleared barangay on Tuesday. Lawyer Ben Joseph Tesorna of Bidea Region 11 handed over the certification to local officials in a ceremony. Mayor Ernesto Evangelista lauded the efforts of the barangay officials, saying anti-illegal drug campaign under his term will be relentless. He said he is hoping that other barangays under Bidea's watch list will likewise be cleared. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Adrian Jerico.
Up next, the DTI Baguio City begins monitoring of meat products and prices in time for Christmas. And DILG launches its campaign to promote a culture of discipline in the city of Manila. We'll be back after a few reminders.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the new Clark City.
Government agencies are monitoring and checking the safety of meat products as well as the supply of Noche Buena items in time for the Christmas season. In the Cordillera region, the Department of Trade and Industry is jointly conducting the inspections with the Department of Agriculture and the National Meat Inspection Service as well as local government units starting Thursday. Checkpoints have been established by the DA at entry points, while several LGUs such as Abra, Benguet, and Sagada Town in Mountain Province have issued executive orders banning the entry of live hogs and processed meat in the respective jurisdictions. Groceries and supermarkets, including wet markets that sell pork-based products, will be inspected weekly, while shops that sell meat and meat-based processed items should post in their establishment an NMIS certification and accreditation. In our foreign news, Italy will become the first country in the world to add climate change to public school science programs. According to Education Minister Lorenzo Fioramonti on Tuesday, the topic will be studied for about 1 hour per week and will take effect starting next year. The measure seeks to create a generation of students familiar with the causes and risks associated with climate change. Italy is said to be one of the European countries most likely to be impacted by climate change. Members of House Committee on Youth and Sports Development lauded the Philippine Sports Commission or PSC for rehabilitating the Rizal Memorial Sports Complex in the hopes of producing more new sports legends. Valenzuela City Representative Eric Martinez, who is the chairman of the House Committee on Youth and Sports Development, thanked PSC Chairman Butch Ramirez for improving the sports facilities, saying this would be the dawning of a new era of sports in the country. Meanwhile, Navotas City Representative John Ray Tiangco said the newly refurbished sports facilities would inspire the Filipino athletes to excel further in their respective field of sports. Other lawmakers also expressed their gratitude to PSC for the construction and rehabilitation of the sports venues and encouraged the youth to go into sports. The Rizal Memorial Sports Complex will be used during the 30th Southeast Asian Games from November 30 to December 11 this year. The Department of the Interior and Local Government on Wednesday launched a national campaign called Disiplina Muna to revive and uplift the culture of discipline in Manila. The DILG has chosen Manila for its active efforts in promoting peace and order. Mayor Francisco Esco Moreno Domagoso, who is one of the campaign's ambassadors, thanked the DILG for choosing to launch the campaign in the city. Aside from Moreno, other Disiplina Muna ambassadors were actor-turned-Philippine Coast Guard Auxiliary Lieutenant Commodore Dieter Ocampo and former reporter Jiggy Manikan. Let's check out the weather forecast from Pagasa. Kiel is forecast to intensify into a typhoon in less than 48 hours and remains less likely to make landfall in any part of the country. It is moving slowly eastward with maximum sustained winds of 95 kilometers per hour near the center and gustiness of up to 115 kilometers per hour. Cagayan, including Babuyan Islands and Apayao, will experience light to moderate with occasional heavy rains, while Kalinga, Apayao, Ilocos Norte, Zambales, Bataan, Palawan, Mindoro provinces, Antique, Iloilo, and Guimaras will experience light to moderate with intermittent heavy rains. Sea travel is risky, especially for small sea vessels over the northern and western seaboards of Luzon due to rough sea conditions. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. President Duterte hopes to discuss with Vice President Leni Robredo the realities of the government's war on drugs. The latest SWS survey shows the Duterte administration retains its very good satisfaction rating. Malacanang supports the DFA's plan to file a diplomatic protest against China over the firing of warning flares in the West Philippine Sea. And the DTI in Baguio City begins monitoring of meat products and prices in time for the Christmas season. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check out more news content, check our webpage and follow the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags on all our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the page of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. Brom Dufo, good day.